Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to News Dose, and we just got some fantastic news from Nintendo. Now, this does kind of piggyback off of what we talked about for Sony the other day, and yeah, I think fans for Nintendo are going to be thrilled by today's news. However, the mentality from PlayStation fans have quickly flipped because despite the PS5 pushing out some good numbers, it still kind of feels like the PS5 generation might actually be their weakest in terms of output, and things just got even worse. PlayStation fans seem to be furious about their latest game announcement and how this is going to impact their pipeline even more. So stick around for all of that, but first, I do want to thank my supporters on Patreon and on YouTube memberships. Thank you just so much for what you do, and you will receive this video through early access. Let's go and get right into things, though, starting off with that Kingdom Hearts remake rumor that we talked about the other day. I believe this surfaced from Ecstasis TV. Correct me if I'm wrong about that. But like I said at the time, I don't really view him as reputable as people like, let's say, Nate the Hate, Jason Schreier, and Jez Corden. But he has gotten some things correct in the past, so we talked about it. But unfortunately, sounds like that rumor is fake after all. This comes from Nate the Hate, who said on Twitter X, "I've seen the rumors, but I've also seen notable insiders say it is fake." So you can choose who you want to believe here. That's completely up to you, but like I always say, really with any rumor, regardless of where it comes from, you should still always take it with at least a small grain of salt. And I get it, a Kingdom Hearts remake sounds pretty amazing on paper, and I feel like it would be a good business decision for Square Enix as they head into the eventual Kingdom Hearts 4, but I'll also say they could probably just drop a collection for the Switch too, and that would also be a great business decision for them as well. So, I mean, as long as they catch people up before the release of Kingdom Hearts 4, then I think they'll be in a pretty good position. Oh, and Resident Evil 9 will be out here in just a few weeks, which has me absolutely pumped. I mean, this is my most anticipated game of the year easily. I love the Resident Evil series, and I truthfully think this one looks amazing, and in my eyes, I feel like it could potentially be the best entry since Resident Evil 4. And that's saying a lot because outside of Resident Evil 6, all of the mainline titles have been fairly high in terms of quality. But the way Resident Evil 9 looks and the way that Capcom has been describing it, it really seems like it's a blend of the best two games in the entire franchise, which is Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 4. So as long as they can deliver on that front, I think this game could end up being a true masterpiece. And right now it seems like a lot of other people are buying into the hype as well, because we just got a new report that it's actually tracking stronger than expected in the United States. This is coming from Circana's Matt Piscatella, and he even said that it's number 2 in purchasing intent, only behind Grand Theft Auto 6. Now, I mean, it's hardly a surprise that GTA 6 is number 1, but when all is said and done, between you and me, I would not be surprised if Resident Evil 9 turns out to be the better game. I mean, I'm just throwing that out there, but hey, this is fantastic news for Capcom, and who knows? We could see some real growth for the Resident Evil franchise with the 9th mainline installment. All right, now let's just go and talk about why PlayStation fans are furious with Sony right now, and there's really 2 reasons for this. One is because of their latest game announcement, and then number 2 is how it's already seemingly impacting the pipeline for the game that fans actually want. And this has become a serious and, in my opinion, an egregious problem for PlayStation Studios this generation. First, though, let's just kind of talk about this new game announcement. And as you can see on screen, this is a new game from the Horizon series that barely looks recognizable. I mean, this is Horizon Hunters Gathering, which, by the way, that is a terrible name. I don't know how that managed to make it to the finish line. But yeah, this is another live service project, which is something that Sony has invested a lot of money into this generation. And if you've been watching my channel for any amount of time, then you probably know that I have been very critical of Sony's drastic shift to live service games. And that's not because I don't think that they should invest into live service games. In fact, I think it's actually a smart thing for them to do. But you have to do it with balance. My issue has always been that they put too much funds into that category instead of the games that made them popular in the first place. The games that fans are actually asking for. That is, of course, their single-player games. But instead, Jim Ryan and Herman Holst, they teamed up and they came to the conclusion that live service games is the future of PlayStation and that they deserve more of a budget than their single-player projects. I believe it was 60+% allocated to live service, which is absolutely crazy for a brand that made its reputation on its single player. In my opinion, I feel like it should have been more of a 70-30 split in favor of single player. That probably would have made more sense, but instead they just pumped all of their budget, or most of their budget, into games like Concord, Fair Games, the dozen games that have now been canceled, and apparently Horizon Hunters Gathering. Yeah, this very generic-looking Horizon spinoff with, yet again, forgettable characters, which has been a running theme here in recent years. And that's the thing about this specific announcement, because this game is being developed by Guerrilla Games. Yeah, this is not an outsourced project. And what is Guerrilla Games most known for? It's easily their prowess for striking visuals. And this dates all the way back to the Killzone franchise. So to see them go from that, some of the best looking games in the entire industry, to what appears to be a very generic Fortnite-like art style is almost mind-blowing for all of the wrong reasons. And okay, to be completely fair, this game could come out and it could end up being fun. I can't rule that out. I said the same thing about Highguard. I at least want to give these games a chance. But just like that game, first impressions are very important. And one thing that we are starting to see from gamers is that they're fatigued from these generic live service projects. You either set a trend or you follow one. And I'll let you decide which category you think this game falls into. But the reaction for it, I think, very much paints a clear picture as to how fans feel about it. Because if you look on YouTube, you'll notice that its reveal has 69,000 dislikes to just 18,000 likes. And more often than not, when we see that type of reaction for a live service project, they end up being dead on arrival, whether it be something like Highguard, Concord, or really anything else. And it just feels like PlayStation fans are sending a clear message to Sony. It's kind of the, how many times do we have to teach you this old man type of mentality, because gamers are fatigued by these type of games and they're just fed up with it. And things have only gotten worse now that Jason Schreier has revealed that Horizon 3, the game that everybody is actually asking for, is still a ways out. And that's been the biggest problem regarding this entire live service strategy from Sony. If you look at the PlayStation 5 generation, they started off strong, but then their first-party catalog quickly tapered off, and now it just kind of feels like we're lucky to get one big game from them a year. And it's crazy to think about that coming from a company as prestigious as PlayStation. But we're now at a point where I can seriously make a legitimate case that their first-party pipeline is actually the weakest out of the big three console makers. In fact, I don't even think that there's much of an argument against that sentiment. And it's all because they're focusing on, again, these live service projects that fans are not asking for. Just think about all of their canceled live service games. There's like a dozen of them, and what would have happened if they would have pushed that budget into single-player studios instead? Who knows? Maybe we could have gotten things like a new Sly Cooper game, or possibly a new Resistance, or, a number of other PlayStation franchises that fans are actually asking for. They could have even funded a bunch of remasters or remakes, and I think fans would have been happy about that. But instead, we've gotten a graveyard of live service projects, and honestly, it just feels like Horizon Hunters Gathering is quickly on the way to that graveyard as well. But hey, that's just my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong here, maybe you feel different, and if you do, let me hear it in the comments below. Now, one more thing before we go, though, because investors grilled Nintendo about a potential price hike for the Switch 2, and Nintendo gave a very interesting response. They said, as mentioned, we do not disclose details about individual components, but we work to secure stable supplies of memory components by holding discussions from a long-term perspective with our business partners. As a result, we expect that the recent rise in memory prices will not greatly impact the financial results for the current fiscal year. Furthermore, due to our inventory on hand, together with hardware currently in production, we do not anticipate an immediate impact in the next fiscal year. However, if the rise in memory prices continue for longer than expected, it may start to have an effect on hardware profitability. Now, the reason that this is just so interesting is because it almost echoes what we recently learned from Sony. Just earlier this week, Sony confirmed that they secured enough RAM to last them for at least a year, and because of that, price for the PlayStation 5 theoretically should be able to stay the same. And it sounds like Nintendo prepared ahead of time as well, and that's massive news, especially for a brand new console like the Switch 2. It sounds like they might be able to sit tight with the Switch 2's current price tag for at least another fiscal year. Now, to be fair, things might not get any better by that point. Reportedly, the AI boom could last for several years, so we could still see a price hike in 2027, but for at least right now, both PlayStation and Nintendo seemingly seems to be safe, at least for the short term. Now, as for Xbox, we still don't know exactly how they're doing with this situation, but it kind of sounds like they are going to launch a new console relatively soon, so we'll see what kind of price they're going to shoot for with that. I'm still predicting that it's going to be an ultra premium console at a very high price tag like we've never seen before, but we'll revisit that topic once we learn more from Xbox. Anyways, though, that's going to be it for this episode, but until next time, make sure to subscribe, ring that bell, and peace out.